Hey guys, it's March, which means that it's almost April, which means that we have like 7, maybe 6 months until Halloween, which means that today, we're back with even more creepy moments from Aqua Teen Hunger Force that'll make you say, oh good god, no. You guys really seem to enjoy part 1, so I'm here once again to deliver another entry in what I hope will eventually become a new regular series here on the channel. So drop a like if you want me to continue covering creepy or dark moments. Not just in Aqua Teen, but in other Adult Swim or Cartoon Network shows as well. Maybe we could hit 5 likes on this video? And hey, if you guys can think of any more creepy moments from Aqua Teen and you want to see a part 3, drop those suggestions in the comments below. But with all that said, let's get wild. South Bronx Parasite. We're kicking things off with Season 3, Episode 9, Diet. Diet, or the South Bronx Paradise Diet, is freaky to say the least. If you don't like bugs or parasites, then you probably won't like where the plot of this episode goes. This episode focuses on Meatwad and Carl's weight loss competition, which ends in Meatwad gaining weight and Carl losing a ton of pounds from eating a candy bar filled with larvae, which feeds on his flesh and eventually turns him into a parasite. Now look, I love bugs as much as the next guy, but the idea of having parasites crawling around inside of my body makes me feel a little bit queasy. So when the massive parasite popped out of Carl's skin, I jumped. Oh, and who could forget how Shake vacuumed up his insides? I think the creepiest moment of all from this episode was the eerie sight of watching Carl crawl along his ceiling and eating bugs from his light. I like Diet as an episode though, it's very entertaining, but I cannot unsee Carl crawling on the ceiling like that. That is just unnatural. The Toilet. Up next is one of my personal favorite episodes, Season 2, Episode 12, Total Recarl. Frylock gives Carl a super toilet that basically turns him into tomato paste once he flushes it. So it's up to Frylock, Meatwad, and Shake to rebuild him. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty surreal seeing Carl's head on a bunch of different bodies, like the random dead guy and the eyeballs one, ugh. But the moment that I have deemed creepy from this episode was when Carl was sucked into the toilet, which totally annihilated his body. I've read a couple of horror stories regarding airport employees being sucked into engines, which is probably one of the worst ways to go out, so seeing Carl being dragged into a toilet just makes me a little bit uneasy. This entire situation could have easily been prevented, but if Carl didn't flush the toilet or use the toilet, we wouldn't have a good episode. Plus the show follows a loose continuity, so it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But yeah, that's creepy. Ghost of Smiley Junction. Next up on our list is the bloodbath of Season 7, Episode 10, Kangorilla and the Magic Tarantula, which is also one of the greatest episode names ever. This episode follows Meatwad as he tries to get the attention of Shake and Frylock, who are too distracted by a mobile game to react or even care about anything that is happening around them.
Not even Paranormal Activity, oh, look who's turning 40.
This episode is pretty tame for the most part, but the moments that really stood out to me as creepy are when Frylock's phone began shooting blood from its screen, which I think is pretty metal, when the phone grew a mouth and bit into Shake's hand, which looked pretty painful, and when Meatwad discussed ending his existence and even popping a few holes in his body just to get Frylock's attention. That scene was pretty dark, and I kinda wish I could just give Meatwad a hug. Poor guy. Paul, although one of my favorite villains, is without a doubt one of the most terrifying fucking monsters in Aqua Teen. Life isn't sunshine and rainbows when Paul enters the room. Instead, it's nothing but nightmares, blood, and lots of yelling about his divorce. Paul has been featured in a couple of Aqua Teen episodes now, but his debut in the series is the most terrifying. Season 5, Episode 3, or 4 if you count Boston, Couple Skate, follows Carl as he finally takes down Markula and saves Shake, Frylock, and Meatwad from becoming birthday party games. Meanwhile, Paul becomes the new tenant of the Aqua Teen's house and is pissed. Again, he's going through a divorce. I've never had a divorce, but I imagine that it's pretty painful. Couple Skate is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the series, but there are a couple of moments that make me weak in the legs. Or what did I say last video? Quiver in my cowboy boots? Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel whenever I see Paul. Paul's first appearance on screen and Carl's death are the two moments in particular that I'm talking about. The episode opens with an 8-second shot of the house and then BAM! Paul takes the roof off and starts screaming his lungs out. I thought the robots and sirens were terrible neighbors, but this guy is just insane. Not to mention the fact that he's super loud. Imagine falling asleep to Adult Swim and everyone and you in your house wakes up at 12 a.m. because you forgot to lower the volume on your TV and Paul is screaming his goddamn heart out. On top of Paul screaming louder than Tyler 1 and giving me a heart attack, the ending of this episode is also really freaky. At Marcula's birthday party, Paul grabs Carl and just squeezes the life out of him. He just squeezes him until his eyes bulge out of his skull and his head pops off, which hits the piñata, causing it to break open, releasing thousands of spiders. Now, for me, I like spiders and I don't really mind blood, but Carl's head making like a game of hockey and getting the puck off of his body was so graphic and grotesque. I never want to see this man with eyes like this again. Get you someone that looks at you the way Carl looks before he dies. Sirens. Famous YouTuber, internet personality, friendly acquaintance, and renowned total drama expert BH Ultra mentioned on Twitter about how almost everything that happens in Carl in the Season 5 episode Sirens makes him wince. And I definitely agree, and I will say that there are a couple of moments from Sirens that I also kind of find very uncomfortable. Season 5 episode 2, or 3 if you count Boston, Sirens, follows Carl as he deals with his new beautiful neighbors
Chrysanthemum, the BJ Queen, and baseball player John Crook. And I just realized I had auto-tune on instead of echo, but that's fine. I'm gonna leave this.
who are all sirens. They sing songs and they get a little freaky, if you know what I mean. In terms of creepy moments, I'd say that John Crook getting penetrated by a spear was pretty alarming. Like, if I were in Carl's shoes and I just saw John Crook get salted and poked, I'd sleep with a gun too. But I think the part that kind of makes me like cringe a little bit was when Carl got drunk, started singing in front of the sirens, and then was totally okay with cutting his nipples off and throwing them into the sewer. Like, ugh, God, I did not like that. Hand Banana. Hand Banana, the infamous yellow dog created by the Make Your Own Dog 1.0 software, is one of the most popular and yet most unsettling villains in all of Aqua Teen. Hand Banana makes his debut in the Season 4 episode of the same name, and the basic rundown of that episode is that Meatwad wants a dog. So Frylock creates one using Carl's pool and some software, and also Shake's DNA. Because what's better than going to an animal shelter and adopting a dog who needs a loving home? Exactly, making a dog in your backyard. Now to the Aqua Teens, Hand Banana is just a normal dog. However, to Carl, Hand Banana is a monster. As soon as the dog enters the world, he soon develops a very inappropriate interest in Carl. Now I personally enjoy this episode, however, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't a little bit uncomfortable by some of the events that take place during the plot. For starters, Hand Banana's eerie and sinister presence around Carl.
Tonight, you.
I swear to God, that line always sends chills down my spine whenever I hear it. Dave Willis's voice at that particular moment is just incredibly haunting. But obviously, the most disturbing part of this entire episode is when Hand Banana, and also Spaghetti, who is another man-made dog, throw themselves onto Carl. I mean, what else could I say other than the fact that this is just fucked up beyond belief? At least Carl finally got his revenge against Hand Banana in the Aqua Dog episode, Hand Banana's Demise. But still, Jesus Christ. Skinless Carl. Aqua Teen is obviously no stranger to mutilating main characters, and with Season 3, Episode 13, Carl, we're gifted with not just one, but two skinless main characters. This episode focuses on Carl, as he's left to watch Meatwad's dolls, while he, along with Shake and Frylock, head to Panama City for a little vacation time. However, things get pretty crazy when Carl hears a voice coming from Frylock's room, and when he goes to investigate the sound, he stumbles upon a portal with a woman's arm sticking out of it. Now, Carl's pretty interested in what he believes to be a girl, until his skin is just ripped clean off of his body. Jesus Christ. But as Billy Mays once said,
You shitting me?
when the Aqua Teens arrive back home to discover Carl, Shake goes up to the portal, and his skin is also ripped right off. Or plastic? What do you call this? Skin or plastic? If it wasn't obvious enough, skinless Carl and Shake are terrifying to look at. But what makes things even worse is that, in pure Aqua Teen fashion, this entire situation could have easily been avoided had Carl just ignored the voice and left the house. But as I said during the Total Recarl portion of the video, if bad stuff didn't happen, we wouldn't have a great episode. Soccer Santa. Finally, we have the Season 3 episode T-shirt of the Living Dead, which follows Meatwad as he takes control of a powerful shirt which once belonged to the Egyptian god of the dead. However, this T-shirt gets everyone in a mess of trouble when Meatwad summons Eggzilla, a giant Easter egg monster, who uses his fire-breathing powers to melt off Santa's skin and flesh, putting Christmas in jeopardy. Now, out of context, this episode description is just insane. Imagine describing this to somebody. Jokes aside, Santa getting his body melted by a giant Easter egg was pretty frightening to see. I just feel awful for the guy. He was just minding his own business until Meatwad called him with the shirt's powers. What's even more freaky is the fact that Santa now has soccer ball skin. Like, that's gotta be a terrible way to live the rest of your life. Having skin made out of, like, what the hell is a soccer ball even made out of? Rubber? Okay, according to AmericanSports.com, soccer balls are made out of a synthetic leather coated with polyurethane, and that's great. Well, there you have it. 8 more creepy moments from Aqua Teen Hunger Force that'll make you say, oh geez, that's creepy. Like I said towards the beginning of the video, if you guys have any other moments from Aqua Teen that are pretty creepy that you would like me to cover in a future video, drop the suggestions in the comments below. And if you would like to see this series continue, drop a like on a video. Again, maybe we could shoot for 5 likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Click the bell icon to be notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. Follow me on all of my social links and join my Discord server. The links are in the bio below. Have a spooky day, everyone, but please remember that Christmas is canceled.